Welcome to Truth or Reps. So, I'm actually going to do something a little different today, and I was just watching I'll tell you what it is because it's worth seeing. Reality Explained in 1 hour, space, hyphen, space, final book chapter from Quantum of Conscience of YouTube. And yeah, but he said something. He was talking about dreams, and he was talking about how, maybe this life will truly seem like waking up from a dream once you're done with it. And then, like, how do you think back to your dream self? Like, is your dream, do you feel bad that your dream self is gone? Like, when you have a dream at night, do you feel bad that your dream self went away? And it's like, well, it was just a dream, it was just a dream, but then but you were there, right? You were having the experience, like it seemed like you were there. Um, and so it's a really interesting idea, and I think it's check out that channel anyway, Matt McKinley over there. He's really good. But um, but he said something in there. He said, like, oh, and then maybe after your life they'll say, oh, it'll be like telling someone about a dream that you had, and it's like it'll be like, oh, they're talking about Earth again. And he said, because nobody's ever interested in hearing about your dream ever. And um, and it's actually interesting though, because I'll prove to you, if you like a certain movie and you like a certain part of that movie, that you are interested in hearing about people's dreams, or at least you're interested in hearing about a dream when it seems evocative. And of course, the movie is the movie's based on a screenplay that's based on a book. And I've read the book. I haven't read the screenplay. I've watched the movie many times. I think I've read the book more than twice, actually. Um, and I think this is part of the book as well. But of course, it's written down. I'm not sure if it actually came from a dream by the author of the book, but of course, it's written down. It could just be a story. But a what's different between a dream and a story? Like, if you tell someone the dream that you had, then it's presented as a first person narrative, or generally it is, usually. And in this movie it is. And like, I think a dream can be very interesting to hear. And actually, I love hearing about people's dreams. I guess if someone like goes on and on with it, then maybe it could be like, all right, like, okay. But like in certain cases, like I remember, at least in one case, I remember someone like telling me about a dream they had, and like it was like a really striking image, and like it was a really good moment, similar to this movie, of what of which I will speak. I will speak soon. But yeah. So I'm interested in hearing about people's dreams. I think that describing dreams could probably be a lot of fun, and it's probably similar to telling a story that has a really interesting meaning behind it, because dreams are coming from somewhere where it's almost like, if you're not doing some kind of lucid dream thing, and then it could have other implications there, then the dream is coming from somewhere where it's sort of automatic. Like, it kind of feels like you're in a movie that is preordained, but you're moving through it. Like, there is a sense like that, right? Like, it does. I don't know. Maybe not. Like, maybe there's a difference between lucid dreaming, which is sort of dreaming while realizing you're dreaming, and then being able to move around and stuff like that, which has happened to me. I think at least a couple of times, in like varying degrees. Not without some looking into like how to astral project and stuff. So you might be able to learn how to do it more easily in certain cases. One tip I would give you actually is, it's super good. You put something in your pocket or your wallet, and it's like a piece of paper where you've written the words "Am I dreaming?" And then you pick a few times throughout the day. You take that piece of paper out, you look at it, and you actually ask yourself, "Am I dreaming?" And the world itself can feel kind of dreamlike when you ask yourself that. And it's like, if you truly ask yourself, and it's like, I don't know, maybe I am dreaming now. But if you make a habit of that, then in your dream, like at night when you're sleeping and maybe dreaming, you might find yourself pulling that out of your pocket, and looking at it and then realizing you're like you are dreaming, like it, not that this reality is or isn't a dream maybe, but like it's nighttime and you're there and you're sleeping and like you're in a dream, and then you can, you know, do whatever you want, I guess. Um but yeah, there may be a difference between lucid dreaming and then uh dreaming sort of normally, and then maybe some kind of dreaming where it feels like you're not even able to move, because dreaming sort of normally is more like the experience of feeling like being in a situation and thinking on some level, feeling like that situation is actually like true, which it is because you're in that situation. Like it's a dream. It may be sort of like being in a VR situation or something, but like you are in some sense in that situation. So in a certain sense, it is a real situation. It's as real as this situation, right? Or somewhat similar, except that it maybe doesn't last as long. But you often feel like there's also, or at least I often feel like there's something that I have to do, and maybe that plays into the um, immobilized aspect of it, the aspect of feeling like you don't have control. Like literally, not only does it feel like it's real life, but it also feels like you don't know that you're dreaming and that there's a real life waiting for you after it, after your body wakes up or whatever, but also that you um, like you're on a track and you have to do something. And like I often have like the dreams that I remember anyway, like often enough, and it's usually more the nightmares, I guess, in this case, of the unpleasant ones, but often enough it does feel like I have to do something. Like I've got to take this test, like the classic example, and I've had this dream or this type of dream. I've got to take this test, and I go there and I realize I haven't studied, or really like I haven't even gone to class all semester. I think I had one of these recently actually. I It's sort of like a ghost memory of it, but I think I did maybe. But I feel like I haven't been to class all semester. I think it might have been last night. Who knows? But it's like it is like I haven't been to class all semester, and I've got this test to take, and I'm thinking, how am I going to pass this class anyway? But I feel like I have to do well on the test. But it's like I haven't been here all semester. It's not just about the test. Like I'm fucked. I think I did have that dream like maybe last night, and maybe it's been even kind of recurring, but it's sort of been like hazy. But anyway, the movie and the book, because they have the same title, I imagine you've seen this. If you haven't, then I'd highly recommend it because it's a great movie, and I'd recommend the book too if you're interested in reading a book in general, and also like a book after seeing a movie maybe or something. I saw the movie first, and I read the book at least like a year later or so, or something around there maybe. Anyway, the movie is No Country for Old Men. And spoilers, if you haven't seen it, stop watching or keep watching. But I would say let's say I'm not gonna talk about the plot itself so much as I'm just gonna talk about this last scene, which is removed from the plot. The last scene, if you don't if you watched the last scene and didn't watch the rest of the movie, you probably couldn't even tell me what the movie was about. Like it just sort of it's a scene where one of the main characters of the movie, okay, spoilers begin now. One of the main characters of the movie is sitting there in this beautiful sunlit room, in the kitchen, I think, a kitchen table. There's a window behind him with this eerie, scary-looking tree. It's actually a tree, the same tree, literally, I think, because the movies were made around the same time, that you can see in the movie There Will Be Blood. It's the same tree. It's like, Matt, like literally the same fucking tree, and it's like, yes, I don't know if it's a prop tree or if it's a real tree on location or something, and they were just both in the similar kind of location shooting in a certain sense, but it's the same tree that appears in There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men in this scene, and it's actually kind of dreamlike here. So anyway, the tree's behind him out the window. This character, he's sort of an older man, and he's sitting at the table, and his wife, I think his wife refers to like him being in retirement in so many words. So you can tell that much. But even that, let's just say, doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the rest of the movie. So his wife refers to him, I mean, in terms of like that being a situation he's in anywhere else other than this scene. But the wife, I think, says something about him being retired. And he says, "Yeah, honey." And or something, not "yeah, honey," but he talks, and she's like, "So what are you up to?" And it I don't know. I don't know if she asks him like, "What did you do last night?" or something. I think she might sit down and like ask him like, "How did you sleep?" or something. And he says like, and part of it is the performance, because this is where I'm getting into like, I've really not only enjoyed, but I have been transported by this scene many times. Like it's an incredible scene, and it's a guy sitting there not telling you one dream, he tells you two dreams. Of course, he tells them pretty fast, but he's sitting there and he tells you two dreams that he had last night. And it probably has something to do with the acting. It probably has something to do with the writing. I think it might be no mistake that Cormac McCarthy is referred to people these days as like one of the great writers of this generation, and perhaps like one of the writers of this generation that could be referred to accurately as like one of the great writers of all time. So maybe, and I think, but I think Joel and Ethan Coen did the screenplay, but I think they might have. I'm not sure exactly how closely they copied the words of him telling us this little thing about his dreams there or here, but it just it's so evocative that it feels like sort of magic. So here he is, he's sitting there and he's telling you about his dreams. And well, he's telling his wife about his dreams, but he's sort of looking towards the camera. It's kind of like he's looking towards the camera and looking away like this. Sometimes I'll look off another direction, not just in videos, but when I'm talking to someone, like, and I think people tend to do this sometimes, maybe, or although I've had people sort of react to me strangely, like I'll be looking off and like sort of saying something, like telling them like what happened or something, and then they'll literally like look behind them to like the direction that I'm looking off to, and it's like I'm not looking at something, I'm just whatever. Anyway, that may be like that may have social anxiety to do with it, maybe, I don't know, but it feels like sort of a deeper way to channel what you're saying, or like it just feels like a natural thing to do when I'm doing it. And so in any case, it sort of looks like he's doing that, which is actually kind of interesting in itself, because I don't think he's looking straight at the camera, but he's sitting there, he's looking, sort of off towards another character, and that's normal enough. Like, you have a shot of one character sitting there talking to another character sitting there talking to that character. But anyway, it is a great scene because it's captivating, and it's actually interesting too, because he says, I had dreams. It's Tommy Lee Jones, and his wife, I'm not sure whom the actress is, but his wife says like, "Oh, why don't you tell me about them?" or "What did you dream about?" or something. And he says he says something like, "It's always of interest to the party concerned." I think maybe he says it in sort of like a snarky way, as if he's referring to her as the party concerned, but I don't know if I've ever really cracked what he meant by saying that. Like, does he mean that he's the party concerned because he had the dream, so it's always of interest to him? Because then his wife responds and she says, "Ed Tom, I'll be polite." And she says it in sort of like a sassy, kind of snarky way too, but like, I don't know, like it's sort of touching, kind of, because it's like, she's sitting there asking him about his dreams, and she's like, "I'll be polite, like I'll hear you out." And it's sort of like it's like she really cares about him. Maybe she cares enough to actually hear about him. She says it in sort of a sassy way that does legitimately undercut like the emotion of it, but like, just thinking about it now, like, I think there's sort of an emotional punch even to that. But then here's where it really begins. I think her last line of the movie is, "I'll be polite," and then the rest of the movie is literally just him sitting there telling her about his dreams, and like, it's like a minute or two, and then like the shot goes back to her like for a second after he tells her, I think, like, literally after he delivers his last line and the last line of the movie, the shot goes back to her of the movie, and she's just sitting there, and like, she's just looking at him, and anyway, like, you can tell how affected I am by this scene, but so he starts what I think are the last lines of the movie, just unbroken, him talking, and then that's it, and then a couple shots, that's it, with the tree behind him all the time, the whole time. And he says something like, "All right, I had two dreams. First one, first one had my father in it," and then he sort of steps back, and I think this is an important part of like telling people about dreams. Maybe it's not necessarily important. Like I don't know if it's necessary because you could present a story and then have that story there for the audience to think about, and like you don't have to give them guardrails. What is poetry or like novel writing in certain cases, at least, if not giving someone something and saying you figure it out. But the dream, I think it's sort of important, or at least it helps us get into it in this particular scene in the way that he tells it. He says something, he says, okay, the first dream had my father in it. And then he steps off, and like, I don't know if he talks about his father at all in the entire movie. It's like, it's strangely removed from the rest of the movie. But he steps off to the side in a certain verbally stepping off sense and says, he's still just sitting there. But it feels like he's stepping off. It feels like he's moving around the fucking stage, like with how incredibly he's pulling you through this. But he steps off one time and he says, he's like, my father died when he was like 50 something, and I'm however old I am or something like that. It's sort of maybe suggesting like I'm however old I am here, and or whatever, and so he's like, in a sense, so essentially what he says is, he said, okay, I had two dreams. First dream was about my father. In a sense, he died younger than I am now. So in a sense, he's the younger man. And I don't know if he says, I think he said his father's in both dreams, actually, or both dreams are about his father or have his father to do with them. And so he says, like, so he might be referring to both dreams when he says that. But in any case, he's like, both dreams, they're about my father. He died younger than I am now, or whatever it is. So in a sense, he's the younger man. At some point in describing these two dreams, he says that. And then he says, first dream, he doesn't remember much about it, or he doesn't tell us much about it, but he says, first dream, I was meeting my father somewhere in town, and he had given me some money. I think I lost it. And that's such a powerful statement. Like, that's a story in itself. I was meeting with my father somewhere in town. He had given me some money. I think I lost it. Like, that's just like a biblical story right there. That's just, that's coming straight out of the heart of anyone. And then he starts describing the second dream he had. And the second dream, he says, he said, I had two dreams, both of them featuring my father. When he died, he was 57 or something, so in a sense, he's the younger man. First dream, I was meeting him in town somewheres. He had given me some money. I think I lost it. Second dream, I was riding on horsebacks in the middle of the night or something, and my father was riding up ahead, and he was carrying a horn with him about the color of the moon, and he didn't know where he was riding to, but he knew that when he got there, his father would be there waiting for him. And then he woke up,